Hey everybody, really happy to be with y'all. Today I want to talk about working with PTSD and trauma through presence practices, mindfulness and Taoist practice, Qigong, Neigong, Dao Yin, Dan Dao, all of that being under Taoist practice, what I like to offer. I'm going to approach this conversation from three perspectives. We're going to talk a little bit about Western science research, um, then spiritual perspective of Buddhism and Taoism, and then my own experience. Okay. So PTSD really is this epidemic, and our response to trauma and what happens after trauma, the looping cycles of dysfunction that we get caught in after experiencing something traumatic. It's defined as trauma is defined as an emotional response to an experience that's really a cyclical, has a cyclical nature to it. When we're looking at the brain, and to be clear, my philosophy is the mind is throughout the body. But when researchers were looking at the brain, really we're talking about three parts of the brain: the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. So the amygdala is the structure in the limbic system that it's like the emotional seat of the brain. It identifies threat and gives us that hormonal fight or flight mechanism. It communicates with the hippocampus that works with memory of an event and places it in time, place, and context. So it accesses appropriate response mechanisms by doing that, right? The prefrontal cortex regulates behavior, impulses, emotion, and fear responses. So when we have trauma, what happens and why PTSD occurs is there's a dysfunction between those three faculties of the brain. There's a hypervigilance happening as the hippocampus gets disrupted. The trauma actually disrupts our capacity for memory and context. And instead of learning from a situation, we're hypervigilant. We're like, getting triggered and having flashbacks. And so the prefrontal cortex really has this executive function. And it gets frozen. It freezes, and instead of providing guidance, it's like stuck. So we see this so much. We see this so much. And the beauty is this embodiment practice, using the sensations of the body to be present from moment to moment, has this reversing, it's because when we speak of neuroplasticity, the brain is something changing constantly. So scientists have found that from meditating, we increase uh, the capacity to recover and rebound in the brain. It it rebuilds the hippocampus ability to put things in context, to organize. It empowers the prefrontal cortex to get back to work and be able to regulate. And the amygdala is not in a state of hypervigilance. So spiritually, when Siddhartha Gautama, Shakyamuni Buddha, and Yasodhara, his wife, were like faced with the quandary of how to prevent the harm cycle. You know, they're from the military class, and so they're trained for combat. They're like, wow, this is a cycle that never stops. How can we prevent war? How can we dismantle the caste system? How can everybody be free? And so this really, pure impulse to serve the greater good of humanity was supported by a technique of nowness, being here and now, of benevolence, radiating the goodness in our heart, here and now, again, here and now, here. How do we find here? Using sensations in the body, using awakeness that is cognizant of the moment to moment, without catapulting into the future and without boomeranging back into the past. The Taoist perspective is different in that they were so methodical in testing out the locality of emotions, the locality of maladies, designating the 5 yin organs as the seats of neurotransmissional emotions, anger being in the liver, anxiety in the kidneys. And those are really the two that were so, sadness in the lungs. There were anger and anxiety, aversion and fear are really behind so much suffering. My God, so much suffering comes from those maladies. So the Taoists were like really devoted to finding ways of entering the organs and not only just approaching it from this physical body, but also the emotional body and the spiritual body. So a big part of Taoist practice is cultivating the spiritual will, the yi, because they found that trauma affected our qi, our bioelectric energy, our life force, our jing. And so strengthening our qi and our jing, our life force, and this capacity to be an energetic being, be alive, is medicinal. And so when we practice, it's very methodical, like holding the arms out, when we do this, after about 10 seconds, there's a impulse, okay, that's enough, right? So now I have to access something else. I have to counteract that impulse to just go ahead and put my arms out because they're getting heavy. Even if I balance them and pull them down onto the intercostal muscles, still the body is like, no. So now I start to engage the yi, the spiritual will, saying, actually, I have a will to do something I know is healing and powerful, and cultivating another frequency of existence. I'm transcending a resistance to growth just by engaging this physical exercise and committing to it. And you can see the building of two voices here, one saying, stay with it, steady the course, and one saying, okay, enough. It's very powerful. Like in real time, you can experience this. Until there's a quieting of the resistance. There's a softening of that voice until it just stops. And now it's a matter of riding with the yi. Yeah. So my experience has been very valuable for me because I've seen in myself, I've seen my own PTSD from trauma. I mean, I've had trauma where the body's response was to tremble afterwards. Like, as I revisited the experience, it caused like a trembling in my body, like not from fear, but from like response mechanism, like geared up, that fight or flight, or, you know. And as I've worked in embodiment practices and a daily practice, that I've seen the severing of those triggers in real time as I experienced something traumatic and then was responding to it and triggered by it. Daily practice just kind of alleviated it and disconnected the PTSD or healed it. So I've seen firsthand how I've healed in real time, and it takes a while. It takes some days of practice for me, where I can feel the trauma release. Yeah, it's really interesting. it's very affirming and inspiring, and this is why I find it so important to share these techniques and to share the practice. And hopefully we can suffer less. And as we suffer less, we harm less. As we harm less, we create a world that is beautiful. And God knows we need it right now. It's a rough time. It's a rough time, but a very optimistic time, I feel. Let's practice a little together. We'll just do a 6-minute meditation. Knowing what it is to be in a body. Relaxing into this state of presence, embodying our awareness. Taking 3 deep, long, slow breaths in through the nose at your own pace. And breathing naturally, letting go of the impulse to control the breath in any way. Bringing awareness to the base of the abdomen. This energetic center, the lower dantian. A few inches below the navel in the center of the lower torso. The center of gravity. Embracing this lower dantian with our awareness. And inhaling. Exhale, open your eyes. Inhale, bringing the arms up. Hands facing the heavens, right at the heart center level. Relaxing the shoulders. Inhale. Exhale, bringing the hands back down, relaxing. Thank you for your practice, everyone. Empower your presence. Empower your yi. Empower your capacity to heal. Be well and thrive. See you next time.